Hello and welcome to High Point Music's first filming of 2019. We're going to get into this year with a few more reviews, more lessons, all that good stuff that you guys like to watch. In today's episode, I'm going to talk about the difference between Overdrive, Distortion and Fuzz. And the reason that I wanted to do this is because people use the words overdrive, distortion, fuzz, muddy, clipping, distorted, all sorts of different things in regards to describing the way a pedal sounds. And so I thought that if the people that watch our videos get a better idea of the way I think about overdrive, fuzz and distortion, then when I use these descriptions, they will help to make sure everybody's sort of following along on the same page, and it might help you out in describing something in your own world or looking at something outside of the world of our YouTube. So I'm going to show you overdrive, distortion, fuzz, three particular examples that I think are pretty good, and talk about the differences. So let's set some pedals up. Okay, so I have three distortion pedals or three pedals at my disposal to show you today. I've got the TimXR Overdrive Preamp 666 based on the Dodd 250, a very famous overdrive pedal. I've got the other side of this dual channel pedal is a TimXR Distortionator X, which is based on the MXR Distortion Plus. And I have another Tim pedal, the Tim Guitars Black Mud. I particularly chose this pedal because it's at the end of the spectrum as far as the descriptions I'm going to give. The reason that it's here will be made pretty well known in a couple of minutes. So they're the pedals that I'm going to use. I'm of course playing my Fender Stratocaster. It's running through the Distortionator X and TimXR into the Black Mud, out of the Black Mud into our 2 notes clean, which is set clean. EQ's normally at noon on this thing. I do use the cabinet simulation, as we had a question asked about that. Just the cabinet simulation on the clean. We don't use anything else in Ableton. And then we're running XLR around the room to the Ableton session where we record it all for your listening pleasure. So that's going to give us our basis to show the difference of these tones. The first thing I'll show you is the overdrive. Let's make some noise, of course. It sounds like this. Sounds nice and crispy with just some easygoing kind of strumming. If you play a little bit harder, it does respond a bit differently though, so. Stays reasonably tame if you keep your strumming to a nice low level. And then for single note picking, so you'll hear that the overdrive has a range of dynamics there. The clipping isn't too harsh. You can hear a lot of the sound of the guitar. So we're not getting a huge EQ change. It's staying fairly natural or neutral. A lot of people will describe this tonal characteristic where the sound of your guitar doesn't change very much as being transparent, and you'll hear that word a lot. I'm sure I probably use that word a lot to describe overdrives, and what I mean by that, and I think what a lot of people mean, is an overdrive pedal that takes your guitar signal and just makes it louder. It's louder, you get a little bit of clipping to create the sound of an amplifier starting to get to the edges of where its circuitry can handle, what its circuitry is designed to do. And when you spill over those edges just that little bit, that's when you get that little bit of clipping. So mild or very, very low level distortion is what we usually refer to as overdrive. Some pedals like a tube screamer or a clon will have huge changes in their EQ. You get a big mid-range push with the tube screamer, you get a big treble push with a clon. So you do get some pedals that have these tonal characteristics that change in them, but usually nothing too drastic. Certainly nothing as drastic as what a distortion pedal can do, which I suppose I will show you now. So the Distortionator X is a copy of the MXR Distortion Plus. It's very similar in its circuit to what the DoD 250 is designed to be. There's actually not a huge difference as far as components are concerned, so I thought that would be a good comparison to show you those two. Distortion is the next step in our evolutionary process of distortion or fuzz. It's where you're getting that signal getting amplified just like it does in an overdrive pedal, but it's being amplified so much that it well exceeds the capabilities of the circuit and creates that distorted, that heavy, thicker, distorted sound. This is usually reminiscent of an amplifier, a valve amplifier being pushed to its limit and creating that classic crunch or palm muted rock guitar tone that many of us will be familiar with, even if we don't know exactly what's happening. So a little bit of volume into the signal, a little bit of clipping, that gives us our overdrive. More volume, more gain equals more clipping, which creates our distortion. So that's kind of our mild and medium in our spicy picante sauce scenario. This is what the Distortion Plus sounds like. So you'll hear with the palm muting and the heavier playing, you get that really bright and bold guitar tone, and you still get definition in the dynamics as far as your picking's concerned when you're doing single note stuff. It's just not as low as what you get with the overdrive. For example, so you can hear those notes, there's the definition there, but there's still a lot of distorting going on. And I think that kind of playing, at least for yourself, is a great way to quickly hear the differences in a pedal and see what its range is capable of. And that'll help you to understand whether it fits more into your idea of overdrive or distortion. But to me, those differences are pretty clear. We go from something like this to something like this. And that gives us our first two steps. Next up is fuzz. So turning off the overdrive and turning the fuzz on, we get to the end of our spectrum, and to get it out of the way, get to the bit I suppose you want to hear the most, this is what the Black Mud sounds like. So you can hear the sound difference straight away from distortion to fuzz. In the fuzz scenario, where we've got the overdrive as being a little bit of gain, distortion as being a medium amount of gain, fuzz is the large. Fuzz is the grande, fuzz is the most amount of clipping that's occurring. And because it is clipping so much, there is so much distortion going on, that's affecting your harmonic series, the structure of your sound, and it's adding EQ and adding tone to your signal that wasn't necessarily as easily hearable without the fuzz on. So we get that beautiful thick response when you're picking single notes. As opposed to distortion. Or overdrive. Back to fuzz. There's that air of coolness to the way a Big Muff sounds, or the way a fuzz pedal sounds, where it is changing the sound of your guitar quite a bit, and I think that makes it a great contrast to go from a clean tone or a mild overdrive through to a fuzz. You can definitely layer those sounds and step it up and make sure that you're following the dynamic passage of low, medium, large, and or vice versa, but you don't have to. And that's the beauty of getting to understand some of these pedals for yourselves and learning what those descriptions and sounds are to you, because once you know the differences, then you can start to use them to create mood and add accents and an overall feeling to a song that you might not be able to achieve otherwise. So that's the 3 stages of clipping. There are circuit differences between all of these pedals, but generally speaking, you can make an overdrive sound fuzzy, you can make a fuzz sound overdriven, so the actual internal circuits maybe don't matter as much as the way you use them and the sound you produce with them to give that relevant description to help you in the world of playing guitar. So thank you very much for watching. You can also jump onto the blog and leave comments there, read a little bit more about the idea behind some of these things and some other things that we've had on the channel to get a better understanding for yourself. Of course, if you do enjoy the video, we would love some support, a like, a share, a subscribe. You can donate to our Patreon page or via the PayPal donate function. That money goes towards helping our production costs and making sure that we're putting out content as quickly as we can and as good a quality as we can. So don't forget to check that one out. If you've liked it, we definitely appreciate it. As always, thank you again for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.